Fall is here, but cold air is definitely building in the high latitudes. There's even a chance for snow across the west as we head through the weekend. Some of it could be heavy. And that cold air tries to break off, some of it anyway, originating from up here near Alaska, tries to work toward the Great Lakes, bringing a little bit of relief to the heat that some of you have been experiencing lately. Let's start with a look top down. I want to show you what's going on over the next couple of days. This is a look at the 850 millibar level. This type of map really gives you a good idea of where the cold air is because it's not impacted by the heating of the day and cooling of the night, so you see the consistency. And this is where the cold is, right? So what I'm seeing is a split pattern here across the North Pole, so you're not developing a strong core of a polar vortex right around the North Pole. If anything, you're splitting it. You're pushing that cold air really far down to the south into parts of Siberia. Also, I would argue over here into parts of Alaska and Canada, we're building that October snowpack that could really let not just the cold air build, but there have also been signs that this type of setup can lead to sort of a wavy jet happening in the Arctic. So that could mean some big storms this winter. More to come on that. I do a weekly winter weather outlook. This isn't it. If you'd like to see it, it's in the description below, and another one's coming this week, so I hope you'll subscribe. Some severe weather on the way in places where it's normally not really that thunderstormy for October. Here into Idaho, Montana, places that are seeing thunderstorms are going to see snow by the time we get into the weekend. That severe weather pushes to the north and east as that low moves further to the north and east into Nebraska, all the way up into parts of Minnesota. Let's take a look at the big picture, and we'll walk you through the next couple of days. High pressure slipping down the east coast. That's keeping things cool and dry here. Although we are seeing some moisture into Florida with an easterly fetch, and there's a bit of an area here that has to be watched for some tropical development, something worth watching as we head through the weekend. Across the west, though, look at the cold air diving here into the northern Rockies. That's going to put some snow down into the mountains of Idaho and also into parts of Wyoming and Montana. Really here into Wyoming, some of that snow could exceed a foot and a half. Really impressive looking. And you can see how that cold air starts to push a little bit further to the east. So we're getting cool here across the prairies of Canada. That cold air doesn't take a direct dive to the south. In fact, your front sort of stalling out a little bit as it drops off to the south. Some of that cooler, drier air at least is starting to work into parts of the upper Midwest where we've been really warm lately. So if you're hoping for some fall weather, it looks like you might at least feel close to average. It's just not going to be 20 or 30 degrees above average. We're cold still across parts of Alaska as that snowpack continues to build across the Northwest Territories. And I'm going to let this roll out because I want to show you something. Just take a look at the trend. More snow falling up here, right? And the more snow you can put on the ground, the colder it gets. This is transitional as we head into winter. Typically it happens, right? But we are seeing a little more snow in the high latitudes than we did last year and the year before. So really interesting to see how that is panning out and how it might work out. And your eyes are probably drawn to this major hurricane that's showing up on the afternoon European, just screaming through the Caribbean. All right, we'll watch and see how all that works out. That's the very end of the European, so a long way to go. Some snow possible really high up into the Sierras. We're talking about above 8,000 feet. You really have to get above 9,000 feet before you get 3 to 5 inches. But the heavy snow as we head into the weekend is going to be a little bit further to the north and east. Here are the touched numbers from the National Weather Service. You see a lot of pink on there. So some of the higher elevations, especially above 8,000 feet, you could easily see a foot of snow as we get really into Saturday, also into Sunday. All right, let's start here across the east. More showers here across parts of Florida as we head through Friday, but we're dry across the northeast. Maybe a few showers trying to work through parts of Michigan. Otherwise, we're watching what's happening here in the Gulf, just to the south of Mississippi and Alabama. Will this develop into something as we head into the weekend? I think the chances of that happening are pretty low, not zero, but either way, I think it's going to bring some really heavy rain to the Gulf Coast. But look, it stays dry the further north you go. And some of that tropical moisture, at least in the short-range models, is trying to show up a little bit further north as we head into Saturday night, into Sunday, across parts of the deep south. Here's a look at your temperatures. I want to let this play out too, because check this northeasterly flow, how it's keeping things cool here across a good part of the northeast, also even into parts of the southeast. Warm and hot, though, as we head through the weekend. Another hot day on Sunday with highs climbing well into the 80s from Detroit down to Cincinnati, Indianapolis, over to St. Louis. Really warm here. I'm going to push this out in time because there is a bit of a cool down coming, but I'm telling you, Monday is going to be another hot day. Even into Tuesday, some really hot weather out ahead of the front. Once it moves through, though, these numbers do start to fall down some. You'll start to feel it early Wednesday morning across the Great Lakes region. We could be dropping back into the 30s. Cooling off also in southern Ontario with high temperatures, maybe not getting above 50 up here into parts of Ontario. Once you get south of the lakes, though, I think we do get into the 50s. It's still October. That sun is still pretty strong. But check it out, Thursday morning, pretty cold, so we could start to see some chilly air really expand as we head into the upcoming week. Still a long way to go before we get there, but there is some cooling at least showing up, especially in areas where it's really warm and really hot. But that's going to continue as we head into Friday. Not a lot of precipitation expected across the Central Plains, the Northern Plains, all the way to the Southern Plains. And then, you really got to get back into the mountains before you see the precipitation. There comes our low as we head into Saturday, starting to kick out into parts of Wyoming. Heavy snow going once we get into, I think, Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening here into the mountains. Those snow levels dropping behind this low. And now as we move into Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, one thing I also think you got to watch is for the potential for some severe weather out ahead of this robust piece of vorticity and the spinning here in the atmosphere. And that continues as we head into Saturday night, also maybe even into Sunday as that low lifts north. And look at the snow flying in the mountains. Here's a look at your temperatures Friday afternoon. Still hot across this part of the country, well into the 80s, even close to 90 across West Kansas, parts of Oklahoma. Oklahoma City may make a run at 90, so really warm. And then as we head into Saturday morning, another muggy night, really warm. There's your cold air, though, moving in across the Rockies. Temperature dropping back below freezing, especially into the mountains, and highs in the valleys may not get out of the 40s. Some of that cold air, again, trying to build south, but it doesn't make much headway. It does knock our highs back down into the 60s once we get towards Monday across parts of Nebraska, also into Iowa. And then once we get now into Tuesday, that cool air pushing further to the south. So now we're into the 70s across Missouri, also into Kansas. And let's go one more day out ahead of this. More cool air, a little bit further to the south. And now we're not 90 in Oklahoma City. We're more like 80-ish. So a little bit cooler. Across the west, an area of low pressure, again, that's moving ashore here, is creating some snow, even some thunderstorms into the mountains here of Nevada, further to the east into parts of Idaho. Some of these could be on the strong to severe side, but then as we go into the weekend, as this spin moves through the mountains, your snow picks up here, maybe even from the Wasatch north up into Wyoming. Some really heavy snow possible once you get up into elevation, and also up into parts of the Canadian Rockies as this cold air dives south. Snow showers hang around all the way through Sunday. It's going to feel like winter. If you want to go see some snow this weekend, go west. It's going to be happening, and it's going to feel much colder too, with temperatures near freezing at night, not getting much warmer as we head into the afternoon on Friday, with highs in the 40s and even 30s into the higher elevations. And then as we head through the weekend, our temperatures aren't going to be warming up much. If anything, across the west, at least the Pacific Northwest, I'd say you're relatively cold even into parts of the Intermountain West with lows at night. Look at this, Sunday morning, we could be dropping into the teens into some of the mountains up here into parts of Alberta, maybe even into the low 20s here into parts of the Northern Rockies, and then highs, cool for sure. If you're wondering about winter and you've not seen the latest winter weather outlook, again, I do one every week. The latest is right here. We're going to talk about some of the global features that could impact this winter. And I invite you to subscribe and come back. We'll have another one coming up this weekend. All right. See you next time.